Hello, Board Game Shenanigans here. So, the Worms, the board game Kickstarter has gone live today, and already they've raised almost £150,000 from 1,500 backers, and I think this was up to about 15,000 followers before it started. So, they've got about 10% so far in just about 5 hours since it started, so that's pretty good going to begin with, I think. Um, the game was on my top 10 anticipated games list, and that was before there was any gameplay or reviews that had come out for the game. I kind of thought, well, it'd be a Worms game, and I heard like an interview from the developer of the game talking about it, how they have decided to make the game and what they plan to do with it. And for me, what I've seen already, it does seem quite good. Where they've kind of got the feel of Worms itself. They've put all the items in the game, and they've kind of done with this like hex style system. And it reminds me of the some of the 3D style games, which I think that's the best way to go about this, to make a board game of it. You know, it wouldn't work in the 2D plane as most of the Worms games are, but they have done 3D games in the past, and they looked a lot like this in the video game. So they've got the good art style hit down, I think. They've gone with just classic Worms, it seems. I was wondering before they started, would they go with the modern Worms designs where they've got the different size Worms with different skills? They've kind of gone with the simple, just all generic Worms with different weapons for sculpts. So, yeah, overall, I think it's looking okay. It's got the feel of Worms down. From what's going on here on the Kickstarter, they've gone with a 2 to 4 players for the general pledge, but they've got a 5 to 6 player expansion included with this version of the game that you buy in the Kickstarter. And they've gone with like it's a 45-minute game, so it's a short, it's quite a light experience. It's not a heavy competitive game. You know, you can play through it quite quickly, so it's something easier to get into. £79. It's a UK based game, so for me, that's a decent amount. I think maybe when it comes to retail, they'll probably sell this for maybe 40, 50, and then this is just the deluxe version which you're getting on the Kickstarter. So 45 worms, it's much less when it's going to come to retail, and they're all different types of sculpts, and they're going to have like daily unlocks showing off more worms as they go. I noticed that there's an airstrike worm in the video at the top that's not included here, so probably in the video there's more worms showing which ones are going to be added in. Also, I've not seen like the holy hand grenade. I think that'll be another worm that they'll throw in as well, like, or maybe one of the bandana for like the kamikaze type thing. There's quite a lot in worms, different types of worms that they could add in. Yeah, so it includes 5 to 6. These are including the Kickstarter version as well. The like mini versions of these instead of tokens, and yeah, they've gone with it's like a nostalgia trip type thing where they're showing off the game because it's going to match up to all people who've played Worms in the 90s, and I think that's a good fit. I've made another video covering about this, about video games where you have a video game which will an older video game will probably do better than a newer one, I think, because nostalgia does work, and a lot of board game players, they were probably playing video games back in the 90s and 2000s, so they'll pick up with that. So I think that's a good marketing tactic they've gone with there. A lot of shows about the worms, all different minis, and the game kind of plays where you're going to have to play a card or what weapon you're going to pick for the turn, and then you're going to roll the dice, see if it hits, or see if it hits yourself. A bit like the look of the game where you have to determine wind, things like that, and that's done through luck in the game, I'm sure, as well, comparing it to each other, and instead of having it a lot more skill based as it would be in the video game. There's a bit more luck in there, I think, but there's always been luck in Worms itself anyway, so it is a good fit as a board game, in my opinion. And yeah, so they said that there's going to be ways to update, change the rules as you go in, like the rule book, take rules out, put them in, and that's how the video game works. You can adjust the settings of the video game and make it a bit different. There's no solo or co-op type modes here. Worms, the video game, usually would have that, but they've gone with just the multiplayer experience where you're fighting each other and last man standing or last worm standing, as this game would be. Some videos have covered it now. Board Game Co. I've seen that one, and I think I've seen Dice Tower, and that's about it. But you've got £79 for the main pledge. They've got 15 different sculpts plus extra ones they're going to show off. So we've got all these for ones, all different weapons from the games. So they all kind of fit right there. And they've gone with a more classic Worms art style rather than any of the modern Worms that have come out in the last, say, 10 years. So they've kind of met like the nostalgia parts of it. They've gone with the most popular parts of Worms rather than the newer stuff that people aren't really into. Then there's one other pledge. It's the £119. This one, it's not necessarily something you need. I think it's something just a little bit extra. So they've got an alternate art tiles, which you don't really need these. You could do anything you want with it. You could just print off something and use that as a tile. It's just an alternative tile with different art, so not a big deal. It's nothing extra gameplay you need. Art prints, again, just something collector's item. A dice tray and a neoprene mat, extra dice, just some extras here or there, just to jazz up your pledge a bit more. So overall, the £79 one gets you all the gameplay. They said after this is going to come out in August 2024, and then after they'll release a retail version with just 4 sculpts and 16 worms. So it'll be the same worm for everyone, 4 different worms, rather than all these different sculpts and extra worms to play with, up to 6 people, and then also just change them up as you feel. So it's a good opportunity to get it now, I think, because you can get all the extras and just make the game a bit better than it would be at retail. But for some people, maybe this is a bit of too steep price for the type of game it is. It's not a massive game. You could get other games for the same price that might have more content, but it is marketing itself as a light experience, not something too heavy to get into. And they're going to do daily unlocks, probably mostly worm sculpts, maybe extra cards, extra weapons. That's what I'm expecting over the next few weeks. You can buy extra pledges, the dice and the tray. If you just don't want everything else, just pick up a few things extra. If you're going to get the mat as well, pay for the full pledge instead. And just get these for free pretty much. There are some language packs coming. So unfortunately these are extras on top to pay more money rather than just changing the language of the full game. So if you're someone who wants a different language, not too good for you, I'd say. You have to pay a little bit more. And then they've got friendly shipping, and that includes taxes paid. So for UK, EU, USA, things are going to be quite nice. You're not going to have to pay a lot of taxes on top. So it's quite good shipping in most of the major regions, except for maybe Asian regions here. But overall, the shipping's quite fair. For me in the UK, £8 or £12, that's very cheap. So quite decent for me. No VAT as well because it's already included. So because it's based in the UK, it's a good deal for me. Maybe if you're in the US, maybe you might not want to because it's another £10 on top. But I think it's quite fair across the board, except for maybe if you're not in one of these supported regions, that's when it's a bit too much. They do go through what regions they won't ship to, so double check that if you're from one of those. But overall, the game is quite a simple designed game, I think. Overall, some filler, I'd say. I wouldn't say it's something you're going to take the whole night on. 45 minutes, if that's correct, then you can blast through a game just as you blast through the video game. I think the video game can last around that long, depending on what you're playing. So It's quite a quick and easy game just to get through, and they kind of cover most of the mechanics from the original Worms and meet the feel of it quite well. Overall, I think that maybe I'll pick it up either in the Pledge Manager, or I'm just going to think on it, see what they reveal, and towards the end of it, I'll probably either pledge for just the minimum, or pick it up in the Pledge Manager later down the line. So, yeah, that's about it for this video, just covering Worms. If you have any thoughts about the Worms the board game, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Just please like, comment, share, subscribe, and bye.